going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dukes of Gaming. Thank you for joining us this week for another great episode as we talk about what's going on in the world of video games. I'm your host, Thomas, the Duke of Procrastination, and joining me is my fellow Dukes of Gaming. First and foremost, what's going on? The Duke of Design. What's going on, Ben? How are you this week?
Very good, very good. Excited to get back into it. Excited to talk about scary games.
It is coming up on Halloween. It is. So we're going to talk about it later on in the show for sure. Joining me and welcome back, the Duke of Rocket League. How are you, Cole? How are you this week, man?
Good. Welcome. I got a 3-week-old now. So that adds 3 babies to my bunch. Or adds 1 baby to my 3-baby bunch.
Congrats.
So anyway, just trying to sleep some. Finally got caught up on some sleep and she's doing better. So we're sleeping a little bit.
Good to hear. Good to hear. And of course, the Duke of Education. How are you, Alfredo? How are you this week?
I am doing great. I just came back from seeing Dune Part 1. It was pretty good. I would recommend it.
Good.
Awesome.
I saw it in the movie theater. Actually, not just HBO.
I watched it at home last night.
Oh, nice.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Pretty good, yep.
Yeah, I would give it a thumbs up, and I would say I'm actually really happy that I got to see it in the movie theater just because it's been so long. This is the first movie since COVID started that I've seen in the movie theater, and the visual effects and, you know, just the general sounds was well worth the ticket price. Enjoyed
Awesome.
it.
Good to hear. I'm probably going to go see that for sure.
Yeah, me too.
So this week we're going to change up the pace a little bit. You know, obviously we're going to start with our games of the week, but going into it, we're going to talk about some of our favorite horror memories. Also talk a little bit about whether you agree or disagree with Nintendo's new DLC for their, or not even DLC, but their online expansion. We'll get into it. But first, let's talk about our games of the week. We'll start with Ben. What have you been playing this week, man?
I should be playing Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, God.
We should all be playing Kingdom
Shouldn't we
Hearts.
all?
I did start Kingdom Hearts, but I have not been playing Kingdom Hearts, not very much. I don't know when we'll ever get to that book club at this rate.
Someday.
Someday. I have been playing Dark Souls 2 because I am on a Souls kick ever since I played Demon's Souls this time last year when the PS5 came out. And I had not played a Souls game in a bit since Dark Souls, which I played earlier this year. So I felt that it was time. I was kind of like holding myself back because I wanted to platinum Dark Souls before I moved on to the next one. But after a certain point, I was just not wanting to go back to Dark Souls to platinum it and wanting to play a new Souls game. So I'm like, whatever. I already beat Dark Souls. I'm gonna just go on to Dark Souls 2. I'll go back to platinum the original Dark Souls eventually, if I so choose. So yeah, moved on. I know that this is the most contentious game in the series and the least liked, I think.
Is it? I didn't know
Dark
that.
Souls.
By far.
It is the
Why?
black sheep of the franchise, I've heard.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's so weird. That's the only one I've ever finished. I started
really?
Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 3, but I never even finished them.
I'd say it's widely considered the worst.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I platinumed it.
Nice. The original one or the Scholar of the First Sin?
I think the original.
Yeah, on PS3 or Xbox 360 or whatever. Yeah, it's good. I like it. I like it a lot. I don't know. I mean, I'm not done with it yet, and I know, or at least I've heard that the DLC is the best part of the game. And I have not played any of them, but so far I'm really enjoying it. I mean, like it feels in almost every way that counts like more Dark Souls. I think the differences between this game and the original Dark Souls are vastly overrated, in my opinion. At least, you know, I'm playing the Scholar of the First Sin version. So I don't necessarily see what all the fuss is about, but
One of the main fusses about it was, and I played it a long time ago, and I'm like you, I liked it too. I never would have, if that wasn't like the zeitgeist, everybody talking about how much they hated Dark Souls 2, I never would have thought anything about it. I would have thought it was another great game, you know. But one of the things was a lot of people complained that the levels didn't didn't like stack on top of each other and wind around each other, and they weren't designed as good as the other ones. Did you pick up on any of that?
Yeah, they are not designed naturalistically the way that the original Dark Souls levels are. They do not make physical sense the way that the original Dark Souls levels do. They also do not loop in on themselves the way that the first Dark Souls did. I think the original Dark Souls did a good job of feeling like it could be a real place. And I think Dark Souls 2 deliberately does not feel like it's a real place. I can't imagine that this, a lot of the same team, it's not, a lot of the team that made the original Dark Souls went to work on Bloodborne immediately after the original Dark Souls, which is why there's kind of this narrative that the B team made Dark Souls 2 instead of the A team, which was working on Bloodborne. But I played Bloodborne and I played the original Dark Souls, and there is just as much of this game in Bloodborne as there is of the original Dark Souls in Bloodborne. So there's through line there for sure.
So is the issue that Dark Souls 2 is too fantasy? Like it's not realistic enough?
No, I don't necessarily think that's the case, because I think that would be a bit of a stretch. I think it's more like, as far as the level design critique is concerned, it's that it doesn't make sense as a literal place. I mean, there's one really good example where you're approaching a tower. You have to go through like this poison bog to get to the tower, and you get to the top of the tower, and then at the top of the tower there is an elevator, and you go up to the top of the elevator, and then you're suddenly in like a lava palace. It literally doesn't make any sense. You could see the tower from far away. There was nothing on top of it. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly you're in a lava palace. It literally does not make sense.
I got you.
So the point that I'm trying to make is like part of the team that developed the first Dark Souls, who absolutely knows what the hell they're doing as far as level design is concerned, made that choice. They didn't do that on accident. So the game is trying to say something in that way. It's not trying to be cohesive and coherent the way that the first Dark Souls was. So you may not like it, and that's a valid thing to say if you prefer the coherence of the first game, but it's a choice. It's not something that they did on accident. I think that's pretty obvious. So there are some other choices that I think are much more questionable than that one. For instance, invincibility. I don't want to go too deep down in this rabbit hole, but like when you roll out of the way of attacks in Dark Souls, which is a big part of the combat loop, unless you're making a build that avoids that, you're invincible for a certain number of frames of the animation, and that's colloquially called iframes. They tied iframes in this game to a stat, whereas all of the other games do not have any. The stats have nothing to do with the amount of iframes that you have. The amount of iframes are purely dictated by the animation. So unless you dump a lot of points into this stat, you're going to be at a severe disadvantage in terms of your ability to survive attacks in the middle of a roll, which is a big deal in Dark Souls. It's a really, really big deal. Some builds don't make sense at all if you can't properly dodge. And so you start out with way less ability to dodge than you have in the original Dark Souls. And you can actually get to the point, if you over level, you can get to the point where you have way more invincibility than the original Dark Souls. So there's something wrong there. And they've never made that decision again to tie invincibility frames to a stat. So that's another kind of weirdness about it. But anyway, so there's things that are different, and there's things that you like have to get used to with the game. But I think overall it's really good so far, and a worthy successor. I gotta be honest, I think Demon Souls is my favorite of these games still so far. I never played the original Demon Souls, so I'm comparing the shiniest version of Demon Souls, but that game is still the same game at its core, and it's amazing to me how much they got right on that first try, and how much this formula was birthed like live. It just happened with the first game, right? Because a lot of people kind of consider the Dark Souls to be the original, but Demon Souls had like 9 out of 10 elements that made Dark Souls great. And one of the things that it didn't have was those interconnected levels, where it wasn't like an open world where you can walk from one end of the map to the other. You have to warp between these different zones. But I actually kind of like that from a I don't know, from a choice perspective of how you approach the game. You can tackle any one of those zones first. I mean, they're all open to you from the get-go. There's kind of like a suggested order, and an order that's going to make it a lot easier on you, but that the ability to jump from one stage to the other when you're hitting a wall in one area to go to a totally different area in a pretty quick fashion, I think that really works well with the way that these games are designed, in a way that I don't think the open world and the backtracking does. I think that becomes arduous after a certain point in the original Dark Souls. And I think the designers agreed with me because they put in fast travel from the beginning into Dark Souls 2, which was not the case in the original Dark Souls. So anyway, yeah, there's like a lot of things that I think are kind of lost with the later Souls games that Demon Souls had, and one of the main ones is the bosses in Demon Souls. Like 3 out of 5 Demon Souls bosses are going to be like a typical Dark Souls boss, where it's like one-on-one fight and you're just like slugging it out and you're looking for timings and you're having a dance essentially. And then 2 out of 5 bosses are going to be like either puzzles or interesting moments that are memorable. And because of that, I remember a lot more of the bosses in Demon Souls than I do the bosses in Dark Souls, especially in Dark Souls 2. I think a lot of these bosses are just like, it's just like
figure out how to beat them. Just keep wailing on them.
Yeah, just observing their pattern, and there's only so much that you can do that before it gets boring. And I think that formula is becoming a little boring for me as I play through these games.
Nice. I might have to pick up Demon Souls now.
It's really good.
It's a great game.
I highly recommend. Yep.
Great game.
You've never played it, Alfredo?
I've never played
any of the Souls games?
My first Souls game was Bloodborne, I think, and then I went to Dark Souls 2 and then Dark Souls 3. Never played Demon Souls, never played the original Dark Souls either.
Okay, well, if you played Bloodborne, then you kind of know what to expect.
Okay, cool.
Cole, what have you been playing past 2 weeks?
So, I have Rocket League news. I finally hit champion. And it's been 6 years coming. Took me so long to get there, y'all. So
Congrats.
my partner,
yeah,
dude, I was so excited. Like I took a picture of the screen, I almost shed a tear. It was something.
You earned it. Man.
I'm not kidding when I say the last time I checked, which was like years ago, I had over 2,000 hours in this game, 3,000 hours. It's crazy. So my partner that plays with me, we usually play duos or doubles. And he hit it like, I think I told you guys like 3 months ago. He hit it and I didn't hit it because I was like right there. I was about a win streak of 7 away. And I got up to like maybe 1 win away and then we fell back down. It's like looking at like a stock chart. Like you're kind of trending up and then you kind of go sideways, then you kind of go up, and you hit the top, but there's resistance and you fall back down. So anyway, I got it on 3s, so I wasn't playing with him, and I just got into a group of like, I found 2 other guys, and there's an awesome party system in Rocket League where you don't even have to talk to them. If you like your group, you can opt to party up, and it has a little green dot, and then if they opt in, it automatically sets you in a party, and you can just keep playing together, which is incredible. So we won like 7 or 8 games in a row. I went from like Diamond 2 all the way up to Champion 2 now. So not only did I get champion, I busted through and I went to champion 2. Now my next goal is so there's champion 1, 2, and 3. And now there is a stark difference of play from Diamond 3 to champion. It's huge. It's crazy. And it's not even like if you watch Rocket League and you see all these crazy flips and stuff in the air, it's not even really about that at this level. At this level, it's literally about being in the right spot. Like all those crazy tricks and stuff are pretty much one-on-one, where you don't have like all this stuff going on. But this is literally about just positioning. and making your solid shots and stuff. But yeah, so I jumped up to Champion 2. Then there's Champion 3. After Champion 3, you're in Grand Champion. In Grand Champion, you get a title under your name. So like, I literally thought I would never hit that. But now I'm like Champion 2, and I'm thinking, oh no, oh, no. Here we go. All right, I know I saved them. I mean, I added them as friends, but all right. So another 7 or 8 years, maybe I'll be 50 years old.
Look, they can't tell the story of Rocket League without mentioning you, Cole.
Oh, dude, they can't. Hey, now I can officially say I'm the Duke of Rocket League. I feel like I always felt like a faker when I had that title. So now I have the champ.
Fake it till you make it.
Yes, now I've made it. I've made it. So I could put down the controller and I would be happy with Rocket League. Oh yeah, but I got the Switch, the OLED. So I showed up to GameStop. I thought GameStop opened at 9, and it didn't open until 10 because of COVID or whatever. And there was already 4 people out there, camped out, and that like 8. This was probably like 8:45. So then eventually, I'd say probably 18 people showed up, and were waiting in line. I was kind of shocked by that. Just a upgrade, you know. I mean, it's not a Switch Pro, but it was a blast though. Waiting, I always love that atmosphere of talking to folks. I by the way, I told someone about our podcast and stuff. But anyway, it was a good time. I got it. I like it a lot, and I was actually a tiny bit underwhelmed because the screen is a hair less bright than the original, which that was kind of a bummer because I was really hoping it'd be a little bit brighter, you know. Yeah. I mean, like, it's noticeable. It's not bad, but like when you hold them side by side, and when I cut it on, I tried to turn the brightness up, and I was like, dang, it is a little bit more dim.
Does the battery life better, like noticeably better?
No, but I haven't played it like that far in a stretch where I've really, you know, I always pop them on the dock, you know, after I'm done playing, so I don't really notice anything on that. But the screen is definitely more beautiful. Like in a regular room, it's fine, but playing outside or something, I could definitely tell it wasn't as bright. But the best part, I've booted up every game to look at it because it looks a good bit better. The best part is the kickstand. It is awesome because it's long and it's really resistant, so you can like sit it up on your pillow and it won't fall.
Oh, that's cool.
It's unbelievable compared to the other one. So that's the best upgrade. Is the kickstand. But anyway, that's what I've been doing. I've just been tinkering around the Switch, playing Rocket League, messing with trying to sleep when I can.
Well, cool.
But, yep.
So I've been on my Switch, my regular Switch, playing Metroid Dread still, just getting through that. Pretty much almost done with that. But besides that, I actually beat Life is Strange last week, and no, on True Colors. So I'm a big Life is Strange fan. That's I think in terms of those type of games, those narrative based games, I think Life is Strange has the most potential. Because it's, you're using superpowers, you're like in your superpowers is kind of controlling the narrative. I think it's very unique in that aspect. And I think this is the best Life is Strange game, like bar none. I think True Colors, from a storytelling perspective, from how the powers are integrated into the story, from just the characters we're introduced to, I think it's the best Life is Strange game. It's a lot less cringe than the first couple ones.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I didn't play it firsthand. I actually watched a Let's Play of it, and I totally agree. I like watching it for the differences in the stories and the branching pathways. And like you said, all the characters are actually pretty endearing. Like, there's no weak link in the town that you're in as far as the story goes. And I will have to say that when they first announced this game was gonna be a thing, True Colors, and the power is empathy, I was like, this is kind of lame. I don't think this is going to be a great game. But then the game actually came out, and then it happened to have a really, really great story. And I also think it's probably the best Life is Strange.
Yeah, I just think that power, like you said, when they first announced it and they said, oh, she has the power of empathy, it's like, all right, so she's a therapist. Okay. cool.
They didn't
But
do a great job
they
with
didn't.
PR for that.
They
for the
didn't at all.
superpower.
But actually playing it, it's like, oh, this is a power that I wish I had. Like, this is a cheat code in life.
Yeah.
Where when somebody's going through like some pain and some sorrow,
And
she can just pinpoint exactly like the exact right thing to say.
And the thing is,
perfect.
the power isn't just empathy, it's also kind of telepathy. Like, she can kind of read people's minds, and that's cool.
Yeah. I love that power. And it, from a visual standpoint, looks unique. It puts her in different narrative situations. I really love that aspect of it. And also the story has some legitimate twists that I wasn't expecting. There is a whole third section of the game. Did you see that, Alfredo? Like the third chapter where it kind of turns into an RPG. I'm like, I was not expecting that.
Yeah,
like,
that was cool.
Like, we have a little RPG Final Fantasy homage going on in this narrative-based game. I like this. Like, I like it when the narrative-based games do stuff like that. So this is probably the best one of these games, these Telltale style games I've ever played, bar none. So
yeah, and like you said, specifically, they literally put an RPG inside of this narrative game, and this is the first instance that I've seen in a story-based game where you're just making decisions that one of the mini games isn't terribly implemented into the game.
Yeah.
Like with a lot of other games, they might have a bow and arrow mechanic or some really bad FPS section or just something, or like third person shooter section that's just very badly done. But this was actually something. But this was really, really well done. Like, they actually took their time and did it.
It's a great game. It's one of my games of the year. I'll figure out where I'll rank it later on. But yeah, this was a great experience. And then lastly, I've been doing some kind of free trials for some games that are coming up. Played the Battlefield beta. Won't be playing that, but it's. I'm glad I got it. You said why not? Battlefield just feels like a worthless game. Not trying to say anything about the people who play it or anything, but it feels like there's no stakes. You respawn in, you die, you respawn out, you go to a different side of the map, and it just feels very soulless. And this one feels really soulless because the map is so huge. Like, there's 124 players in the map, and I can't find anybody, It's weird. It's like, you'd think 124 players, like, that's huge. I remember I was playing MAG on PlayStation 3, and 100 players on the map was crazy. This has more than that, and it's like, it just feels less compelling. There are cool moments for sure, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to like it, but I won't be paying $70 for this. But
fair, when you can play Halo for free.
For sure, yeah, exactly. But in the other game I've been playing, which is another trial I've been doing, is Riders Republic.
Oh, I didn't realize they had betas out for that yet.
Yeah, it's active right now. I think it ends tomorrow. But yeah, this is going to be a very serious competitor to Forza, I feel. This game, it's basically Forza, but with like X game style, like, gameplay. So it's, you're biking, you're doing gliding missions. It's very different, but it's open world the same way that Forza Horizon is. So I'm having a really great time playing that. I'm going to buy that as soon as it comes out. That's an online game, so be playing that online with people. So yeah, that's what I've been playing this week. And Alfredo, what have you been doing this week?
I also have been playing Metroid Dread, and I celebrated because I never have to play this game again. No, I'm just kidding. I'll share my thoughts probably when we do an actual review for it. But briefly, I did enjoy the game a lot better than what I first initially had impressions on. It got better after I had to deal with the terrible map design, but it got better for me. But aside from that, I actually been playing Watchdogs Legion a lot lately. So I never played any other Watchdogs other than the first one, which I also did not even complete because it was just so incredibly boring and such a disappointment from the E3 trailer. that they led us to believe it was gonna be, kind of gameplay wise. So I just never really gotten around to even finishing or even had the appetite to play a Watch Dogs game. So I completely skipped 2 because that was not what I wanted to play. And then when Legion came out, I waited for a price drop. So now that it's been out, I believe for about a year, I grabbed it on sale for like $20, and I've been playing it, and I'm enjoying it a lot. It's not what I expected initially, because the whole draw of this game is that you can be anybody. Anybody is able to be the main character of this game. So I was really intrigued to see how, if they would be able to pull that off, seeing as how I don't know how these cutscenes are going to go. I don't know how they're going to make me like a specific character or multiple protagonists in the story. But what I found in this game is that in the beginning of the game, you basically have to recruit 3 people as your starting, like as your squad, and then from there you can branch out and recruit more and more people. So I got my 3 basic people. One was a game developer, one was, to be honest, I don't even know what the other 2 are, because I love the game developer one so much that I just use him for everything now. Even though he basically is like a programmer and hacking, and that's how I would like to play this Watchdog game. I don't want to play like Grand Theft Auto where I'm just like shooting up a place. I don't want to be like a professional hitman, which you can actually recruit in this game. I don't even want to be a spy, which you can also recruit in this game. Every time I do recruit somebody like that, which is also pretty optional, I always find myself going back to Percival, who's my main guy. And he has a really distinct personality from all of the different people that I've recruited as well, which is interesting. The dialogue will change depending on who you are. So Percival has this really I don't know how to describe it. He's like street smart, so he talks like kind of like a con man, and he's very street savvy. But another one of my characters will be very professional in the way they talk and will act in cutscenes. So I'm not sure how all that works, but I'm just really enjoying my time with Percival specifically. And even though they encourage you to be different people in your squad, for example, for each mission that you do, you might do one mission with Percival, and then your next mission is all the way across the map. But you can just conveniently, another one of your squad mates might be right next to the starting point for that next mission. So you can either go there by yourself and travel all that way with the character that you're on, or you can just fast travel a la Grand Theft Auto style by swapping operatives. But I'll gladly make that trip for Percival because he's my ride or die. Also, what is really cool in this game is that they have a permadeath route. So what you can do is, since this game is so reliant on you recruiting people, kind of like Fire Emblem, it's you're able to, if somebody gets killed or caught by the feds or by Albion, who is like the main evil conglomerate in this game, they'll be out of the game forever. If they die forever. And if you basically get all your operatives killed, then you have to start over. So that's really cool too. All in all, I'm really enjoying this game a lot more than I thought I would, and I'm not sure how well they do the multiple protagonists like Grand Theft Auto. They don't do it definitely as well as Grand Theft Auto, just because of the lack of actual background story. You don't get any background story with your protagonist other than your starting mission with them and how you recruit them to your team. Other than that, there's absolutely no background, which is a little bit disappointing. But I think the game is pretty promising, and just the fact that you can literally walk up to anybody and do a recruitment mission and they'll have their own special skills, I think is very, very impressive. But yeah, it's very a lot closer to what I thought Watch Dogs 1 was going to be, so I'll take it.
Good to hear. I was honestly thinking about starting that at some point. I have it, but I never started it. I got it on sale.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious because it reminds me a little bit of Shadow of Mordor in that like Nemesis system. It seems like it has that same level of like complexity. It always seemed that way. It reminds me of that. Because this is like the first game since then that I see like have a similar kind of branching.
Yeah.
In that game, it was branching antagonists, but this seems like it's more branching protagonists. I'm
Right,
really
yeah.
curious from that perspective about the game.
Yeah, now that you say it, I definitely see the parallels. But like I said, sometimes in this game with Percival, he only has 2 skills because I basically got him for free. But other people on the street, they might have 3 skills. Eventually, you can get people with 5 skills. But even though I have people with multiple, way better skills than this original guy, I still won't pick them just because I like my original guy. He's cool. I don't want to. I don't want to switch to this boring professional hitman, even though that's a pretty cool job. But
Cool. I might start that. It sounds kind of like that mixed with Metal Gear Solid 5, kind of capturing the people. So yeah, I never thought of the game like that. I always thought it was a little more generic than that. I didn't realize the system was that complex. So that's good to hear.
yeah, it would be great to see what you think about it. It's definitely not a game without its faults, but if you just want to be a hacker and if you want the dream that Watch Dogs 1 promised, this is as close as you're going to get to it.
Good to hear. Now, you brought up Grand Theft Auto.
I did.
We have to get to Grand Theft Auto. We've gotten some big heavy hitter news the past 2 weeks from Rockstar. Because we've been hearing about this remastered. We've been hearing about it. We've been drip fed information since about July. Now it's tangible. We have a gameplay trailer. What are you all's thoughts on this gameplay trailer? I have a lot of thoughts, but I want whoever wants to go first because I have a lot to say.
I'll go first.
Right? It's fitting.
I might as well be the Duke of Grand Theft Auto. I don't know. I go back and forth on that. So I was expecting this just to be like higher resolution, same graphics. I was expecting Rockstar to do the bare minimum. I'm talking like the Mario 3D All-Stars treatment. I thought that Rockstar was going to do that. But when I saw the trailer and read the report with the enhanced visuals and lighting and everything, I think it looks awesome. Like I'm shocked. I was actually shocked at how much I wasn't expecting anybody expecting GTA 5 level graphics. That's just crazy. I mean, that would be rebuilding the game that'd be like Final Fantasy 7, Mm-hmm. So I thought it looks awesome, and I liked the cartoony look a little bit more than the old kind of drab. It looks like they gave it a little bit of more pop, a little bit more color. And I'm absolutely picking this up to play on the Switch. This is a day one purchase for me. I'm very, very excited about this. It looked awesome. And the fact that you can play with the GTA 5 style controls, that's huge. Because if y'all played any of these old GTA 5 games, they do not hold up well control wise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we talked about that last 2 weeks ago. We
did.
Yeah, they don't hold up control wise. So the fact that they're giving you that option, that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful. Also, I get to play San Andreas on Game Pass. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. This is the one I wanted to play. This is one of my favorite games of all time. It's gonna have. I'm curious about the radio. I'm curious about what songs we're getting on the radio. Because I feel like if we were getting the full soundtrack, they probably would have said that.
Right, made a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
But worst case scenario, I can cut on Spotify and just make my own playlist. That's worst case scenario. It looks incredible. It doesn't look like GTA 5, but it's way better than I ever thought it was going to look.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that it's so close to launching. Like, we're less than a month away from it. I think we're it launched on the 11th,
November 11th?
I believe. Yeah.
November 11th? It's going to be the biggest game it would be one of the biggest games of the fall, sales-wise.
Mm-hmm. It will definitely be in the top 5 because obviously Call of Duty is going to be number 1.
Yeah, and Halo.
Halo. It might outsell Halo because Halo's going to be on Game Pass.
It might, honestly.
Yeah,
honestly,
Halo's sales numbers are not going to look impressive.
Yeah.
But the amount of players on Halo, I think, is going to be really impressive.
Very true.
They did say, it's worth noting, 4K 60 frames per second on PS5 and Xbox. So you're not, obviously you're not getting that on Switch. Mm-hmm. But, I don't really...
Did they say anything about performance on Switch?
No, I don't think so.
I was kind of concerned about that.
Gameplay either.
Yeah, I was a little bit concerned about that just because they ported the games over to Unreal to do all this
Oh, really?
additional stuff on. Yeah. So the games are running on Unreal now, and the lighting is pretty modern, and a lot of things have changed. So I wonder if we're now like out of the realm of these running at 60 on Switch, which would be a little sad.
I'd be shocked if we got it at 60, to be honest.
Yeah, you think so? I mean, these are God, GTA 3 is almost 20 years old now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but look, if GTA 5 doesn't even run at 60.
It does.
On PS4
No.
it does. Yeah.
No, it does. It's locked. It's locked 30.
It's locked
It
at
is?
30. It's locked
locked
at
I
30.
did not know that.
Yeah, it's locked.
Only,
30.
only online
what
or
the
in the single?
That's
No,
what the definitive version is
everywhere.
supposed to do. Give it 60
Whoa.
frames per second.
Yeah, the next gen version is supposed to be 4K 60 frames per second, which
But still, I mean, we're
we've
talking
never-
about PS2 games here.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
should be. I agree. They should
Very
be
true.
running. I bet on Switch. If it's locked 30 though, I'll be happy with that on Switch.
Well, maybe not, because we do know that Kingdom Hearts is only coming via cloud, not even natively. So if it can't handle the PS2 graphics of Kingdom Hearts, I doubt it would be able to handle Grand Theft Auto.
But wasn't that
But
just
there's 60 frame per second games on Switch. It can
But
do
in-
60
but
frames
Grand
depending on
Theft
the game.
Auto? Like an open world massive game like Grand Theft Auto? I know it's nothing compared to like Grand Theft Auto 5 now, but Grand Theft Auto 3 was still pretty big, and so was Vice City, San Andreas, all
But they're
of them.
so old. Like that's the thing, they're so old that I feel like it could do 60. I just don't know if it will. It depends on the scope of these games.
I'm cautious
that they
because
said-
I'm playing Metroid Dread and this thing is stuttering.
I don't
like,
think to
even
expect that because
in
they
Fire Emblem.
specifically said 4K 60 on next gen content. Like on next gen
Yeah.
content.
Yeah, if it's not even 60 on PS4 and Xbox One, then Switch has no
So
power.
are y'all gonna play this on Switch or are y'all gonna play it on?
I'm playing on Game
console.
Pass. I'm playing San Andreas on Game
I'm
Pass, and then we'll see.
gonna wait for the Digital Foundry video to see how it runs on Switch before I buy it for
Yeah.
Switch.
Yeah,
'cause
I've been burned too many times on those ports. Yeah.
Yeah, I would much prefer to play it on Switch. I think that would be a great way to play
Because
it. but-
my argument would be if you're gonna play Grand Theft Auto on PS5, why would you? I just don't see why you wouldn't be playing GTA 5.
Because I mean, I've played
Nostalgia.
GTA 5. I've
Yeah.
played GTA 5 before. I've never played GTA 3, San Andreas, or Vice City.
Are you serious?
So
You never
that's-
played any of those?
I played I played like 10 hours of GTA 3 on the collection on PS4. And I just got so fed up with the controls that I was done with it. But yeah, no, I never had a PS2 or
Y'all
anything,
talk
so I
about
didn't
like
play 'em
the
in
the
day.
epitome of releasing an unbelievable like world changing game in Grand Theft Auto 3 and then coming out with Vice City and just beating it on every level and it being unbelievable. Then releasing San Andreas and upping the ante again. I mean, it was unbelievable. The steps between those games. In
See,
San
I
Andreas
never
with the
played
3 cities.
those. I never played Vice City or San Andreas, which is why I'm excited for the collection now, because I have only played Grand Theft Auto 3. I played it a ton of times, but I never got the other two.
Yeah,
Vice
like,
City to me is the best story.
and like Thomas mentioned, this is the frustrating thing to me because I really want to play Vice City. Vice City is the one that I would jump into first. But like Thomas said, San Andreas is on Game Pass, and GTA 3 is on PS Now.
Right.
But Vice City is only available if you buy it, which is really an interesting strategy. This is the first time that I've heard of something like that where they're not, as far as I understand, they are not selling these games a la carte.
Nope.
They're
Not
only
right now.
available in the collection, and yet they do have one game in the collection on these streaming service or on these services, but it's not the same game. PS Now gets one, and Game Pass gets one, which is really strange.
Maybe Vice City will be a Switch online
Yeah,
exclusive.
Switch on. Yeah.
Which is really interesting because I was going to ask you guys, what do you guys think about the price point of $60 for the trilogy? I know,
think it's a
like you
good
said, it
price.
is available on these other two streaming platforms, but do you
Now
guys
that we
think that the
see-
collective package is worth $60?
Yeah, now that we see what it is, absolutely.
Yeah.
Before,
this
when
is,
I just thought it was just an up-res version of the old game, $60 seemed like
Yeah.
robbery. But now it seems like very reasonable.
Well, look at it. It's literally Nintendo put their three of their games, and they did nothing to them and charged $60.
And
Like
I bought
that
it.
was, yeah, and I bought it too. But like they at least they're putting the effort in. I mean, for this, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is. I think this is the best that you can expect from a remaster.
Me too. I
If
agree.
it says remaster on the box, like this is the best that you can expect.
And
for that.
that's what
sure.
shocked me was this was the best case scenario.
Yeah.
This, because
I
we
hope
know
the
they're not
bar has
going to
been
waste.
set.
We know they're not going to rebuild these games from the ground up. That would be such a waste of resources.
Yeah, especially at the fidelity that Rockstar now lives at, where it takes them 7 years to make
Yeah.
a single game, and imagining GTA 3 at that fidelity is
You know what's weird though? Like
stretches the imagination.
when these games came out, it felt like Vice City felt the same fidelity as GTA 5 felt. You know what I mean? Like relative to what we had at the time. Like
Yeah,
I remember
it was
when
just as
GTA
boundary breaking.
Yeah, and even the world, like I remember reading articles like before the games would even come out, these hype pieces where like they talked about different districts of the city. Rockstar would always assign a different artist to a different area of the city to give that area its own feel, and they've been doing that since like GTA 3. So it's crazy. I'm really excited. This is my most hyped game in the fall.
It's a good pick.
Especially because GTA 5 is not coming out.
That's
this
right.
year.
That's right. This
Yeah.
takes the place.
Or next year.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh man. But what is coming out is Animal Crossing's DLC. In addition to the Nintendo Switch expansion pack, I believe it's called. It is a $30 increase to the original Nintendo Switch online service. It comes with Animal Crossing DLC. I don't even know what to say about this. This would, like we said with Grand Theft Auto Remastered being the best case scenario, this is the worst case scenario for what I thought that this expansion pack was going to be. Is anybody have any thoughts on this? 'Cause
I have a
this is-
question.
Yes.
So, as far as this game, this package, the Nintendo Switch Online, this new expansion pack option,
Yep.
it includes the DLC for Happy Home Paradise DLC for Animal Crossing. It
Right.
includes Nintendo 64 emulator of sorts with all those games. It includes the Sega Genesis stuff. But does it include Animal Crossing base game or just the DLC? I don't think it
pretty
does,
sure
right?
It doesn't include Animal Crossing.
Okay, so
base
it's
game.
only
Yeah.
it's only the DLC. Got it.
And I believe it's the only way to get the DLC.
No, you can
You
can
can't
buy
get
it
it
a
the
la
other way?
carte. Yeah, you can buy it separate for I believe it's $30 if you buy it separately.
Okay, so
For
it's
the
the same
DLC.
amount. So it's the same amount as the increase to the online, the Switch Online.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say because as somebody who could care less about Animal Crossing, it just like I was semi excited to play, Nintendo 64 games, but I don't know if it's worth $30, especially when there's other means to get these games. I don't know. Is anybody excited for this still?
I just don't see why they just didn't raise the price on the whole thing and just include it instead of fracturing it like this and making it like just raise it $10 for everybody. What is it, $20 a year now? Or is it, how much is this expansion pack again?
$30 increase.
So it takes it from $20 to $50 a year.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which isn't
I mean-
unreasonable if their online wasn't horrible.
True.
Like, this isn't going to help the online get better. This is not. And I don't know. I feel like if it just had more, for me, it maybe would have been worth it. Like, if you're including maybe some Game Boy Advance games,
Yeah,
some
see,
Game
like,
Boy
why
Color
didn't-
games, but
But
it just doesn't seem like enough.
They're
Just give us-
definitely waiting to add a new expansion pack for the Game Boy SP and Game
gosh.
Boy Advance games. I feel like this is going to become their new standard where they just add a new expansion pack 2, expansion pack plus, all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
The saddest thing to me is like, you remember when the Horizon news came out, where the Horizon, like, they were talking about how much it would cost to get the Ultimate Edition of Horizon, and then Sony got bad press, and then they changed that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not happening with this. Like, Nintendo's not going to change at all. Like, this is the pricing. They got
Basically.
I don't know anybody who spoke positively about this news, but it's not going to matter because they're not changing their mind about this.
It just surprised me that when they first announced this new expansion pass, they didn't say anything about the Happy Home DLC at all. And now suddenly, now that Happy Home is a thing and has been revealed to the world, now they're saying, "Oh, we're gonna bundle it in." But I don't know if that helps the price fluctuate it at all. Like, I don't know what person that they are targeting that is going to now say, oh, now I can get this as well in the expansion pack instead of just buying the DLC flat out, which I feel like most Animal Crossing fans would just do. Just buy the DLC as opposed to just getting a membership that will only give it to you for a year.
Well, this is a boon to Animal Crossing fans. It's shitty for everybody else. Like, that's how I look at it. Like, I don't care about Animal Crossing. So the DLC is not going to matter to me. Mm-hmm. But if I wanted to play these 64 games, I have to get the expansion pack that comes with the Animal Crossing.
Right. But
so it's almost advertising Animal Crossing. Like, hey, you're getting the DLC. You might as well buy Animal Crossing while you're at it. It's like, I just don't. I wish there was a way I could just buy the expansion pack for like $5.
Mm-hmm. Well, you can buy the expansion pack, but it's going to be the same amount of pricing.
Right.
But the thing is, with Animal Crossing, the way I feel about Animal Crossing fans is very, very similar to the way I feel about The Sims fans, where they are a very rabid fan base, kind of like Kingdom Hearts.
They're a very active fan base, yeah.
Yes, they love their Sims, they love their Animal Crossing, and any additional DLC or expansion pack that is going to be released for the game, they'll eat it up because they are just so hungry for new content. It's just such a addicting gameplay loop, those types of games for a lot of people. So they'll just play it over and over, particularly The Sims. I know a lot of people who play The Sims, and whenever they announce a new Sims expansion pack, the people go crazy. And, oh, you can now go outside. These things that are so basic, they just get so excited about. And they'll spend the $30 or even $40 on these Sims expansion packs. And I feel like Animal Crossing is doing the same type of thing because they have a similar fan base, and they're, in a lot of regards, they're very similar games, so I can see them definitely attracting the same type of fans. So they'll pay the $30, and maybe they'll even pay the expansion pack and get hooked into the yearly subscription while they're at it. Who knows?
I guess for me, I just look at it, I compare it to just Xbox and PlayStation, just basically. PlayStation gives us 2 to 3 games every single month. Pretty quality games. Like, it's like, for the most part, we do get some dud months, but I have a lot of games in my library, just very quality games that I didn't pay for. Mm-hmm. Xbox, it just makes more sense to get the Game Pass bundle because that's $20 a month, but you get Game Pass and you get Gold. And these are more expensive options than the Switch Online, but they feel just innately more valuable to me. Like, I value those subscriptions more than just this one subscription that I pay yearly and I get a whole bunch of old games that I've already played for the most part. But, I'm glad it exists for the people who want to kind of delve deep into Nintendo's back library.
Yeah, I think that might be where I am, because I just, have never played most of these games. So I've gotten quite a lot of value out of the NES and SNES library. And Nintendo 64 is like the first console that I really feel nostalgia for. One of the earliest consoles that I kind of grew up with and around. So I would like to play some of those games. But I feel like I'm just going to, I'll be like, okay, I want to play Majora's Mask this month, so I'm gonna subscribe monthly, and do it that way, rather than like plunking down the $30 for the year. And then when I'm done, just like get rid of the expansion pack and keep the base version. But I kind of agree with Cole. I think the easiest thing would have just been for them to raise the price across the board, which people would have been annoyed either way. I think the problem is that everyone would have been annoyed if they increased it across the board, and most people who play Switch do not even know about the expansion pack right now because they're not plugged in to the
Well, I would say give it to everybody, but give us a little bit more value. Like retool the online, or a free game, or heck, put in a few GameCube games. I mean, people would have gone nuts if you'd had Eternal Darkness and like Rogue Squadron and
I suspect they'll get there. I suspect they'll get
that's
there.
expansion pack 3.
Yeah, it's NES. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's NES. Then it was SNES, and now it's N64. So they're working their way there for sure.
I like the direction they're going. Like this could be, eventually if we have this treasure trove of all these Nintendo classics, it's pretty awesome.
I would say I don't like the direction, just from the standpoint of what they were doing before. I thought was perfect. I thought the virtual console was the perfect way to do this.
Right, exactly. Because with
my
that,
Switch
you can
was my
buy
favorite
it, right?
machine. Because my Switch was my favorite machine because I had literally all like the Nintendo, like most of the Nintendo 64 games I loved. I had my GameCube games. I just had those. Like I feel like this Nintendo Wii surprisingly had like the best backwards compatibility. Surprisingly, that system wasn't very powerful, but it had the virtual console. I feel there's nothing stopping it from being the ultimate Nintendo machine except Nintendo. They're the only ones.
Look, charge us $60 a year, like PlayStation and Xbox, and give us access to it all. Disney Plus, give us access to everything.
I would pay more than that. I think I would pay more than that. If you have everything, I pay $80 a year.
Look how much you're paying at Disney Plus. Launched at like $6 a month, and you got everything.
Yeah.
Or like all the old classics. I mean, $60 a year. I feel like, so everyone would subscribe. Everybody has a Switch would be subscribing to this. There would be no question the value of that.
And it wouldn't cost that much for them to implement. That's the other thing. It's just, I just don't get it. But there's a reason why I don't work in Nintendo. But I think that is the way to go. Just give us all of it. We pay for it in a heartbeat. We always, us Nintendo fans always do.
And I think you will anyway.
Exactly.
Which is why they're ultimately going to win here. And this is like we've talked about it before. This is just classic Nintendo artificial scarcity. They do it every time.
With everything.
Yeah, they just want to get you excited about the stuff that's already in existence.
It's just like Disney used to do that. Remember with the vault, they would
Disney
rotate
Vault.
their movies in and out of the vault.
Yeah, but Disney actually did Disney Plus and just said, "Here's everything."
That's what I'm saying. That's Nintendo. Come on.
It's
the
more
next
special. It's more special if it's ephemeral and it doesn't last forever. And they, as bittersweet as that pill is to swallow, like that is the key. That is the key to their success, and it's why they still got you on the line. You're still biting. Because you're waiting for them to just give you what you want, and they never will. Not totally. They can't totally give you what you want, because then you would be satisfied. Could you imagine if all of your Nintendo games could come with you?
Nintendo's listening to Ben right now. They're just
Can you
man
imagine if
can
Nintendo
dream.
gave you what you wanted?
Could you imagine
No,
if
I
it
can't.
was
I can't
if it was that good?
I can't.
They would
imagine.
never sell another console again. I mean, it's too.
Oh, they would find a way.
It would
I'm
be
sure.
too good. Not until the next Animal Crossing comes out.
Right.
We might get there one day. I hope we do, but it won't be anytime soon. Maybe Switch 2. So we are coming up on the spooky side of the month. We thought that it would be better to do for a final topic, just going over some of the horror game memories that we might have. Horror is one of the more, I feel, underrated genres of gaming. I feel like every year there's always some horror game that comes out that everybody, kind of, whether it's Dead by Daylight, stuff like that. A Resident Evil game comes out. We all kind of have those memories. I kind of want to just go around and just explain one of your memories from, maybe a spooky game you played, maybe a game you played around Halloween. Alfredo, you could start.
Sure. I had one, but I forgot it. But I have a backup one just in case. So as everyone knows, I love playing Dead by Daylight. It is Dead by Daylight. It's my go-to competitive ? Not really. It's my go-to casual game where I'll boot that up and every single day, play it for an hour, play it for 2 hours, and just have some fun with it. But it started when I believe PlayStation Plus gave it. There was either a trial on PlayStation or PlayStation Plus had given Dead by Daylight. I think
it's a PlayStation Plus. I have it.
Okay, cool.
I definitely
cool.
buy it.
Yeah, I used to be this person who did not like scary games at all, But now, once it came out, I decided to try it, and it got me hooked. But now that I play it so much, it's kind of gotten me desensitized where, this is just fun. Like, I know how to run away from killers. I know all the tips and tricks that I need to know in order to not die a horrible grisly death. So not very spooky anymore, right? But I will say I played a very similar game to Dead by Daylight right around the time I started playing Dead by Daylight, maybe a year after. And Friday the 13th, the video game, had come out. And I played that game, and it was very, very, very different from Dead by Daylight because of the way that they treat the horror aspect to it. With Dead by Daylight, it's more of a... it's not that scary because... I don't know how to describe it. It's not that scary. Everything's very brightly lit. The colors are very vivid. It's not scary after a few tries. However, with Friday the 13th, I remember every single time I played that game, no matter if it was my first time or my 30th time in a match, I was scared to death that I was going to get murdered because they nailed the suspense and the threat of Jason in that game. And so basically with Friday the 13th and how it's different from Dead by Daylight is that in Friday the 13th, you start somewhere in the woods or in a house or somewhere on this campgrounds, and you are isolated. And your goal is to try to find other people you have to make a plan of how to get out of the situation by boat. You have to figure out where parts are to fix a boat, go by car, you call in the sheriff. There are different ways that you can do it, but you have to work together and you actually have to talk to people. It's one of the first games at that time that started doing what's the audio, proximal audio, where if you're near somebody, they can hear you. So if Jason is near you, you'll hear him. And there are these creepy people on the mic who love playing as Jason, who love to terrify people and play with your mind. And 1 minute they're in the front door, next minute they're back door.
And if you're playing as Jason, you can hear the other people too.
Yeah, so you can hunt them down. But it just nails the suspense in that game so well, and how you actually have to talk to people and say, okay, I'm going to go over here. You need to have my back. None of that is ever present in Dead by Daylight. You can always be a lone wolf. You can always do it by yourself. But there's a sense in Friday the 13th, every single match of camaraderie and if somebody gets caught, like, you feel like, oh my God, like, what do I do? Should I run? Should I try to help them? Like, you have to make these decisions. And that game was just so great at what it did. And it's really so unfortunate what happened with the whole legal case of that game, because they had this whole great plan on how to make new game modes and stuff with it. But essentially, the game got caught in lawsuits where Friday the 13th, as a copyright, was having issues, and basically they had to drop support for the game. So now it's a hot dumpster fire, but I'll always remember those matches where I was just terrified every single time.
You know what they nailed too? They nailed like the suspense of like a horror movie when like a character gets into a car and they're trying to crank it. because it gives you those little mini games when
Yeah.
you're trying to crank the
And
car.
then he just
And
shows
then
up.
He'll show up and he'll hit the car, and then he
Yeah.
pulls someone out of the car.
Yep,
you're
and
trying
then
to
everyone
crank it.
scatters.
Yeah, everyone
Great
scatters,
times.
and then run back to the car, and like everyone on the mic is screaming, "Go, go, go!"
Right.
It's crazy.
It's just such a great game. I will
It was
never
a great
forget that
game.
one.
It was great.
That's great. That's great. I've always heard good things about it. And they made Predator Hunting Grounds, right?
Yeah, and they made most recently. They made Predator Hunting Grounds. They made another game that was very similar to Predator Hunting Grounds, and I believe they're working on a Ghostbuster game right now. I
Yeah,
want to
that's
say,
right. That's right.
yeah, the Ghostbuster
That sounds
asymmetrical game. So
Oh, that sounds super interesting.
It's a what game?
asymmetrical. So Dead
Oh.
by Daylight, there's 4 Ghostbusters, and then on the other side is going to be Ghost. So that's all we know about it right now. So hopefully it turns out good. Hopefully another spooky Halloween game we can look forward to.
Sounds good. Now, for me, this game came out 2014, I believe. It came out around August.
Oh, I know what it is. This is my game too.
Oh, man. So, I didn't play it when it first came out. I just remember I was over my friend's house, and he said, "Hey, you want to play the scariest game of all time?" I'm like,
Is it what I
Alright.
think it is? Is it a demo, perhaps?
it might be a
Yes.
demo.
Okay.
It's a playable teaser.
Oh, right,
Playable
right.
teaser.
My
It's
mistake.
a playable teaser. So, of course, I'm talking about the infamous PT. This game, like, I'm not a big horror fan. Not because I'm afraid of anything. It's like when I'm looking at horror movies and horror games, I'm picking them apart. I'm just like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. I can't, like, surrender my suspension of belief. PT was different. PT legit had me, like, kind of scared. Especially, like, the first time you're in the level and when you turn around and you just see the face of that little girl. I didn't even know what to say. I was just like, that. I don't know what just happened. I need to go back and see how to not have that not happen. And it consisted of us for about 3 hours, I believe, getting through it. I think it took about 3 hours. One of the best short gameplay experiences of my entire life. So many, because no matter how many times that little girl scares you, it's always, like, the visceral nature of it was just something I haven't seen in many games. And just the sadness that we'll never get
Right.
that fully realized. But partially that's fine because I think
Yeah.
it works as its own part of video game history.
Mm-hmm.
I've
You
kind
know,
of come
it's just-
around. I've kind of come around on that because originally I was so blown about Silent Hills falling apart, but I really feel now that so much of what made PT magical
Yeah.
was its confined nature, and that
Yeah.
Silent Hills as a larger game could never have possibly lived up to it because there's something so hypnotic about the repetition of that closed
Yeah.
loop that sucks you into it, and because you
It's
know
got
what
chill
to
bump.
expect, you know exactly what to expect when you open the door,
Oh.
and yet that's where it gets you because you know enough to know what you should be seeing, so that when things are wrong, it gets so far under your skin,
Right.
and you can't. It's some of the magic of like Resident Evil, or Resident Evil 2 or whatever, when you're in the confined space of the Spencer Mansion or the police station, where you're going around the same areas. But the fact that PT is so small makes it so much better. So
It's so claustrophobic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
It's those two turns. You go down the hallway, you turn right, then you turn right, and then that's the end.
And
That's
then
it.
going through that doorway, it's always like a weird feeling to go through that last doorway back to the beginning.
Yeah.
You got to psych yourself up to open
Exactly.
the door.
Yeah.
You know, the
Let out
sense
a
of
deep
dread.
breath.
Oh my gosh, the sense of dread when you're just standing there about to open the door to go through another loop. It's ridiculous. This is my game too. And I think it's one of the best. I mean, I hate to say one of the best video game experiences ever, but I mean, it's up there. Like Ben was saying, this is special.
I always make sure it comes, like, even though I can't play it on my PS5, I always make sure it's still in my library just to make sure, you know. 'cause-
I was gonna say that's the only disappointing part about it. But like you guys said, that kind of lends to it. how special it is because you can't get it anymore. And it was this one memory that a lot of gamers have. Fortunately, all of us was able to grab it. But right now, I can't play it because I made the mistake of deleting it from my original PS4 hard drive. So I can never experience that again. But I'm kind of okay with that as well because, like you said, Thomas, it holds like a special place in gaming history. And I don't know if I would honestly even want to revisit it just because of how special it was, and I don't want to try to pick it apart. I don't want that memory ruined just because it seemed so perfect as it was.
Something that Thomas said too, he was like, your friend called you and said, you want to play the scariest game ever? And I did that exact thing. And I played that playable. This is the first game I remember that people just streaming, like it hit this zeitgeist and people were just streaming it and trying to figure it out. And I don't know, I think it took a few days, or maybe they figured it out that same day. I don't know, I can't remember, but it felt like it was forever until they figured out it was Silent Hill. But everybody that came, probably 4 or 5 different groups of people came to my house. I made them sit and play that game, and everybody freaked out. Like, it was the scariest I've ever been in watching any kind of media. Like, any movie I've ever seen, any video game, I remember being terrified, and everybody was at my house. They couldn't even hardly play it or look at the TV. That's how scary it was. Like, when you turn that corner and the tall man is standing down there, do y'all remember that? There's like this really tall, lanky person. Then you like turn around, and then there was like this the radio was going, turn around, don't turn around, turn around, turn around. Then you turn around. That's the first time the lady or the girl grabs you or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's terrifying.
It's a terrifying game. I played it around like I think it was maybe a couple days before Halloween. It was definitely in that spooky feeling. And it's like, I don't know if there's any game that could possibly capture me like that for that short amount of time. Because that's my thing with most horror games. It's like they start off strong a lot of times, and then I just start gradually even getting tired of them. You know,
it's kind of like a horror movie too, or like that. I feel like they kind of start off scary, then they just water down over the course.
A horror movie always is worse after the twist is revealed. Like after they explain why it's happening.
That is
this
so
way.
True.
And PT doesn't do that. That's the beauty of PT. The mystery stands. You never really understand what's going on.
Because we never have the chance to.
Right. And it honestly saved it from itself, because maybe that could have been like a 4 out of 5 game, a pretty decent game, you know what I'm saying? It could have been something special, but it could have been just something average. And I think since that never manifested, and we just have this piece of history made by one of the greatest game developers of all time, you can make an argument this might be his best game,
Yeah.
Right, for sure.
It's actually the only game that I've played of his. Hopefully that will change if we ever get that Metal Gear Solid remaster trilogy, if that's going to be a thing. But what you did say reminded me of just saying, once you kind of explain the nature of what's going on generally in a movie, in games, it always waters down the experience a little bit. Reminds me a lot of another game, actually one that I got yesterday, the Dark Pictures anthology, and all of Supermassive games with their Until Dawns, with their very B-tier movie games that they're putting out every year now. And one just released called House of Ash, which just came out on Friday, that I am itching to play, and me and my friend are going to start playing that tomorrow. But I'm hoping each time that they put out, I always look forward to these games because they always come out probably a week before Halloween, and it's always a memorable experience for me. They're not always the best game. Like I said, you get a B, sometimes C tier game / movie experience, but as long as you know it is like going to be that type of experience, it's a fun time, especially in co-op. The fact that these Halloween type games, horror games, are all fully co-op, that I remember when the first game came out, what was it, Man of Medan, it changed everything because I was so excited to see how they would pull it off. And surprisingly, they actually did pull it off extremely well, way better than I ever thought. And their last game, Little Hope, pulled it off even way better than the last game. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with House of Ash. I think it's getting okay-ish reviews, so not holding out hope it's going to be the best game ever, but I'm very, very impressed because horror games, especially ones that are co-op, are extremely rare. But Supermassive seems to be doing a really, really great job with the anthology that they have going. So stay tuned next week for my thoughts on it, because I will be definitely finishing it this week and starting it.
Sweet. I want to shout out 2 games, but I think we've cracked the code a little bit here as to what makes for really, really affecting horror. Because the game that I was going to mention was this game that I got totally obsessed with in high school with my friends. It was a free downloadable Unity game that just like totally blew up, and it was a huge YouTube phenomenon for a little while. And that game was called Slender. And I don't know if you guys remember this, Slender Man, when that was a huge thing. So I was in high school when this happened, and it was, I think, 2012 or 2013. And me and my friends were super into Slender Man and the kind of like creepypasta lore, all that good stuff. There was a YouTube series at the time that was a found footagey kind of horror series, super low budget, which made it scarier because it felt more real. That kind of centered around Slender Man. So there was a lot of things kind of coalescing to make this really pop. And so Slender, the game, is what really launched it. You know, all the biggest YouTubers at the time, PewDiePie and Markiplier and all that, they were playing it, and it was a really big deal. And so I played this game a ton, and the gameplay loop in this one is also super, super tight. I mean, it's like an entire game you're probably not playing for more than 10 minutes before you're bounced out back to the beginning. The whole objective is you're in the woods. You have like ridiculously poor stamina, so you can hardly run away from any threats that come after you. And you have like the shittiest flashlight ever created. So it's constantly running out of batteries, and you have to turn it off in order for it to recharge. And so you're like in the dark, you cannot run, and your flashlight keeps going out. And if you look at the monster kills you. If you look at Slender Man for too long, he like kills you essentially. He like pops up in front of you, and then everything goes staticky, and you lose. So, which is awesome because you can't, like, anytime you can like look at the monster for a good amount of time, the monster becomes less scary. And this is not a high-tech game. Like this is like, I think one person made this game. You know, it's the lowest of the low budge, like fun side project type of thing. So it's not visually impressive whatsoever. Slender Man looks ridiculous. But it's so scary because you're just walking through the woods, and it's kind of boring half the time because you're just like looking for these 8 diary pages that are just in random
forgot about
places.
those.
And then he'll like show up behind you, and then you'll have to run away a little bit and not look at him, and you try to get away. And because you can't look at him, you lose him, and then it's like, oh my god, where is he? And then it's boring a little bit again, and then he's like there when you least expect him.
So how did you know? I've never played it. How do you know when he's behind you? Do you hear him? Or you hear him breathe?
Isn't there like a noise or something?
There's a noise if he's in your vision. So sometimes you'll hear it before you even register that you're looking toward him, which is the worst. Where it's like, oh my god, where was he? Turn around, I can't like risk it. And the further on you get, the more pages you collect, the more the music ramps up, and the more aggressive he is. So for the first little bit, like until you get the first page, you might not even see him, and then you get the second and third page, and he's going to be in the distance, so you can still avoid him. And then by the time you get to the eighth page, he's going to be like right behind you, basically following right behind you. So,
I completely forgot about this. It brings back so many memories.
And this was another one where it's like it almost never got boring. It almost never stopped being scary. And I think you can attribute a lot of that to the fact that it kind of outstayed its welcome in any one sitting. And there's like, I kind of think of it like these peaks and valleys where you're building up tension. You have to have releases of the tension in order to then build up again. Otherwise you kind of hit your cap, and then you're becoming desensitized. You're not staying, because the increasing tension is what's actually scary. It's not high action that's scary. So the short gameplay loop, every time you get to the door in PT, it's a time to exhale and let out the steam, right? That's your release. And then you're building steam again as you go through again. So it's consistently scary. It's the same thing with Slender, because you're dying every 5 to 10 minutes, so you got to restart, and then it lets all the pressure up, and then the beginning of the game is easy again, and then you're like the slow ramp. So that's very interesting. I think we found something here as to how to make a really great horror game.
Yeah,
we should make one.
Short gameplay loop.
Right. That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing other game I want to shout out is not the best horror game that I've ever played before, but one that really, really sticks with me on a psychological horror level. So it's not like I was not jumping out of my skin or anything playing this game, but Soma. I don't know if you guys have played this game before.
I've heard of it.
I've heard of it. Never played.
I think it's the same studio that made like Amnesia.
Amnesia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That the game it's a sci-fi game, and I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but there's like a real undercurrent of serious existential dread throughout the entire thing, and you can see the ending coming from like 5 miles away. It's not surprising whatsoever, and that makes it worse because you know how bad it's going to be for the main character, and he doesn't, because he's a fucking idiot the entire time. He's like he's really dumb. He's really, really dumb, or naive, or both. But you know how bad it's going to be for him. So you're just marching on toward this inevitable, like, horrific end. And you get there and you throw your hands up and you're like, my God. So I how did you not know this was going to happen? I knew this was going to happen. But it's like one of the worst things that you could possibly imagine befalling a human, or at least to me. It's like a really horrific thing, and it's not bloody. It's not him dying. It's like it's much worse.
Now I'm curious.
It's
I
like
might
hell.
have to play it.
Yeah.
So like just the way that story affected me on the level that that typically horror media doesn't affect me on. Like, so this Soma affected me the way that that reading The Road affected me. I don't know if you guys have read that book. But when I finished The Road, I was like emotionally wasted. I was like, oh my God, this is a journey that I've been on. And I felt the same way with Soma, where at the end it was just, I was really able to empathize with the character's situation, even though he was a total idiot. I felt the torture at the end, right? I felt the horrific demise.
I'm gonna read,
and that's special.
I can play it. That's special. That's amazing.
So, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that are wrong with the game too, but that moment, of the end and the way it all kind of comes together has really stuck with me.
Oh, I really need to play this game now. I'm so curious.
It is $5. I'm about to buy it right now.
Is it? Oh,
yeah,
nice.
It's $5 on PlayStation Store as of right now.
Really? I think I already have it, actually.
I need to get this.
I think it was a PS Plus game. I'm not sure.
How many hours? How long
I
did
might
you get
have
through
it
it?
then.
I think it was.
Yeah, how many hours is it?
It's probably longer than it should be. It's like 7 or 8 hours, but it's like pretty much a walking simulator. So buckle up for that. There's
Get
some
comfy,
gameplay.
bring your popcorn.
Yeah.
Guys, do we have time for a story time? I remember it would be real quick, maybe 5 minutes. Do you have time?
Granted.
Great. So back to Friday the 13th game, actually, I had thought about this memory as we were talking about the spooky season. So one of the reasons why Friday the 13th is great and different from a lot of horror games is because you can actually fight back against the killer. In that game, you can arm yourself with bats, brooms, guns. They actually have guns that you can use. They have a whole bunch of things that you can just pick up and use to fight against the killer. And it is actually possible to kill Jason. But when the game first came out, nobody knew how to do it. It was just known that it is possible to kill him. So in one of the very first matches I was in, I want to say maybe the 4th or 5th round, out of nowhere, everybody split up. Out of nowhere, everybody starts getting a message that, hey, we're going to meet at the cabin. Every survivor, be at the cabin in 5 minutes. Do not get caught. Be there. So I was like, okay, let's see what this is going to happen. So I go to the cabin. Every single survivor is there. And there's this one guy giving a speech. We're going to try to kill him. Everybody arm yourself to the teeth. We are going to wait for him and we're going to beat the crap out of him. So everyone gets guns. Everyone gets bats, anything to arm them. And suddenly Jason shows up. And we all get around in a circle and we're like, we're going to beat you down. We're just going to beat the crap out of you. You're dying tonight. We're getting out. And we all just start wailing on this man. People are shooting. People are hitting him. Like, he's staggering. Like, he's kneeling on the ground. Like, he's getting beat. He's getting shot. Like, it's affecting him. And then suddenly he gets up. He takes one survivor's neck, lifts them up, and crushes their neck in front of all of us. And just like that, everyone drops their weapons and scatters. And it's like, everyone for themselves, run, we can't do this. And it was just like, that moment is just ingrained in my memory because it was just so much fun how that game just has so many memories just because of how interactive with each player you can meet, you can have. It was great. Never killed him, unfortunately, in any of my games.
You know how you did it, right? You know how you did
Yeah,
it?
you had to call on Tommy, and you had to go to his shack and get his mother's, I forget, his mother's clothing and have like a girl do it. There were all these steps you had to do, but it was a great game.
It was a great
We did not know that. The game, I think at that time, the game was out maybe like 2 days, so nobody had figured it out. It was great. Memories.
Well, I'm glad we could share some of these great memories. You know, it's spooky time. I hope everybody has a really good Halloween. Anybody have any plans for Halloween?
Trick or treat with the kids.
Oh, true. Oh, true.
You'll see me in my costume next week, probably. But other than that,
Are we gonna wear costumes next week?
I'm wearing a costume.
I'm
You
wearing
can
a
wear
costume.
what you want.
I'm wearing one. So tune in next week if you want to see what our costumes are going to be. I want to thank everybody for listening or watching the Dukes of Gaming podcast. You can listen to us on your favorite podcast service and watch us on YouTube. Leave a like, a review, a comment, anything to help support the show. You can email us at therealdukesofgaming@gmail.com. Have your question be read live on air. All of our socials are in the description. And we'll be coming with you next week for some hot takes and our costumes. So please tune in next week. Hit the bell as well to get notifications when we release our videos on YouTube. We post everywhere, every week. Make sure you start your week right with me and my fellow Dukes of Gaming. We'll see you next week. I bid thee farewell.